Well, some people probably correctly think that I ask trick questions at times. Would you agree with that? I like asking trick questions. And I haven't asked you a question in a while, so I'm going to ask one today. You can assess for yourself if it's a trick question or not, but I do ask everyone to vote one way or the other on the following question. I am going to, before I ask the question, assume that all of us live in a house or some type of a building, okay? So I want you to think about the house or building that you live in and answer the following question. How many foundations does a house have? How many foundations does your house have? How many foundations does any house have? How many of you vote for one? How many of you vote for more than one? Well, we have a couple who voted, they think it's a trick question, you know. I'm going to vote that there's one. I've never really been in a house or a building that had multiple foundations and you shifted from one foundation to the other. Most homes that I've been in all really have one foundation. Well, the next question you don't have to answer. You can leave it rather rhetorical in nature. How many foundations do you have for your life? It's a very important question. How many foundations do you have for your life? For some, it may not be as easy of a question to answer. Remember, a number of years ago, one of my friends, we would get together once a month, and one of my friends at that time, she was dating a young man who was a psychologist. I think I'm personally responsible for their breakup, for the simple reason that once a month when we would get together, he would spend the entire evening speaking to me and not paying any attention to her. And being a psychologist and being a priest, he found it very interesting to have many conversations, and he and I debated about every hot topic that existed at the time. And every conversation ended exactly the same way. He would say, I disagree with you on everything, but I cannot fight you because you have one set of principles that you are applying equally to everything we discuss, whereas I'm simply giving you my opinion. Two very different foundations of life. So how many foundations do you have in your life? And if there is more than one foundation, that sometimes you're on this one and sometimes you shift to the other, which foundation really is more important to you? Which is the most important? It's a very important question to ponder, and it's really a question of today's gospel. We hear the Pharisees and their disciples, along with the Herodians, are at it again. They're trying to trap Jesus. And they come up with a trick question. And the trick question is this: is it lawful to pay the temple tax or not? Well, it's a trick question. Why? Because if Jesus simply said, no, do not pay the temple tax, the Herodians, who were the supporters of Roman rule, would charge him with treason against the Roman Empire. On the other hand, if Jesus simply said, yes, it is all right to pay the tax, then the Pharisees and their disciples would charge him of not being a faithful Jew. It was a trick question. And so Jesus, of course, gives the perfect answer. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but give to God what belongs to God. Meaning, as he asked for the coin, and he said, whose picture is this? Well, it's Caesar's picture. Well, if it's Caesar's picture, it must belong to him, so give it back. Caesar's the one who minted that coin. Give it back to him. But God is the one who created you in his image and likeness. You bear the imprint of God in you. So you must give yourself back to God. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give to God what belongs to God. So, again, what is the very foundation of your life? Is it Caesar or is it God? Is it a political party or platform or is it God? Is it relativism or is it God? Is it being liberal or conservative or God? These are the questions we need to ponder. And it's not really a new question or problem by any means. Of course, the Pharisees had the exact same problem. Pharisees, along with their disciples, went with the Herodians to Jesus. The Pharisees and the disciples of the Pharisees were nationalists. They desired not to have Roman rule. They wanted Palestine to be free. But they gave that up to side with the Herodians. Why? To trap Jesus. What is the best way to bring two opposing groups together? Find a common enemy. That will bring two opposing groups together, and that's just what they did, because both the Pharisees and the Herodians, although opposite on everything, both agreed this guy has got to go. And so they gave up really acknowledging God and recognizing Him in the person of Jesus Christ to side politically with the Herodians. Many nations since then have wrestled with that very question. Do we belong to Caesar or God? And really our own nation has the same, wrestled with that from the very beginning. If you study the Declaration of Independence, there were 27 grievances listed there against the decisions and actions of King George III of Great Britain. If you really study those 27 grievances, they very much are many rooted in Scripture and in the rights of the human person. If you really study them with the lens of faith, you will very clearly see there is a parallel to faith in God and Scripture. Our Constitution grants us certain rights. The right to life, the right to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're given the right of freedom of religion, among many other rights. And if you look at your currency, it says on the back, "In God we trust." Another question, do we really trust God as a nation? Are those words really true? Do we really trust God? Since 1864, it was in 1864 when they minted a 2-cent coin that those words, "In God we trust," were first used. They were minted on that coin. And that term on our currency has had a long history with ups and downs. There was a period from 1883 to 1938 when those words did not appear on our nickel, our 5-cent piece. But in 1938 and every year since then, those words have been minted on every coin, "In God we trust," in our country. And it was on July 30th in 1956 that Congress passed an act to place "In God we trust" on our paper currency. It has been there ever since. Well, why did they do that? Many historians will say that Congress passed that in 1956 as a response to the Cold War with the Soviet Union. You see, the Soviet Union was promoting atheism, and Congress wanted to stand firm that it is in God that we trust. And it was at the same time during the Cold War that the Soviet Union was passing many laws which were anti-religious in nature. So Congress, in response, wanted to remind the world that as the United States, it is in God that we trust. Today we see great division in our country on many levels. We see division for our nation as a whole, as well as the "In God we trust" portion of our country. We have individuals choosing to kneel during the national anthem, and now athletic teams deciding to just stay in the locker room until that is over. We had, and I'm not taking any sides with this comment, I'm simply repeating what happened and was in the media and the news. But this past August, we had two caucuses during the Democratic National Convention omit the term "under God" as they offered the Pledge of Allegiance. We've heard a lot about what it means to be a good Catholic in the media lately. If you would like to read my bulletin article, I defined that this week. And we have heard that in relationship to people who are in office, not running. We've heard that term "good Catholic" for those running for office, and we've heard the term "good Catholic" for some up for judicial appointments. Sometimes the term is used as a very favorable remark, and some it is being used as something to be feared and avoided. We've also heard over many years those who serve us in public office say, "Well, personally, I don't believe in fill in the blank, but who am I to legislate others against that?" So I suppose in our nation we are no longer our brother's keeper, are we? Are we really one nation under God or not? Do we belong to Caesar or do we belong to God? On the personal level, we make many decisions each and every day personally. Do we make those personal decisions as one belonging to Caesar or to God? As we will vote, all of us, hopefully, in the next few weeks. Will we vote as one nation under God, belonging to God, or some other consideration and foundation? Any house I've ever been in has only one foundation on which the entire house is built. You and I hopefully have only one foundation for our life. And we have to question, is that foundation Caesar or something therein, or is it God? I choose to build the foundation of my life on these two books. One is the Bible, and the other is the Catechism of the Catholic Church. In 55 years of my life, every question I've ever had to answer, the answer comes from these two books. It covers really basically every topic. I invite you to really consider doing the same.